Welcome to my presentation. Welcome to the Conquer Chronic Burnout webinar. And as you know, my name is Valerie, and I'm going to be your presenter for today. You are probably here because you're burnt out, not just burnt out, but constantly going through burnout. Because burnout can happen maybe once, right? And it goes away if you take a vacation or if you go on a retreat. But the thing is, for some of us, burnout just keeps happening. And so if you're at that point and you're going through this loop of burnout and you're recovering just enough to catch a break, but then you fall into it again, that's what we would call chronic burnout. And what happens when we go through chronic burnout is that you start to have trouble finding joy in what you used to do, because you just can't catch a break. It just happens again and again and again. And so another thing that might be happening for you with the burnout is you have trouble being present with the people that you care about. So maybe you are having trouble being present with your friends or your family, and it's just taking up a lot of your energy. Another thing that might be happening is that the stuff that you're doing to try to recover from burnout, like the coping mechanisms, it's not working for you anymore. And it's the way that your life is structured is giving you problems. And so I was talking about how, burnout can happen once or twice to us and it's not a big deal. We just, take a few days off, come back, and it's fine. What becomes a problem is if it becomes a recurring pattern. And for someone like me, the recurring pattern happened for over a decade. It didn't just go away. And it took me a long time to figure out what the heck was going on. And so I'm here really because I do not want this to happen to other people. It's a downward spiral. And I've spent years of my life trying to figure out what was going on. So aside from that, I am here because I am an Ayurvedic practitioner. So I have background in holistic health, and I'm also a mindset coach. And I also happen to be a yoga nidra instructor and a movement artist. I was a professional hip hop dancer for quite a while. But that being said, all of that, I am a survivor of chronic burnout. And what I've realized, for me at least, is that chronic burnout has a lot to do with my mindset, and it has a lot to do with my tendencies as a people pleaser. So I consider myself a people pleaser in recovery. So everything that I'm teaching here and talking about today are things that I've been through, and also tools that have worked for me and my clients.
Sorry, question.
Yes.
So I was just wondering, how do you define burnout? What is a typical symptom
Yeah.
called burnout? Because sometimes I just feel like depression,
Mhm.
or anxiety. I'm not even sure if that really burnout.
Yeah. I will get to that and actually right now. So perfect
Okay,
question
sounds
for the
good.
moment. Yeah. Okay. So I will define burnout in a second, but just to get us present to some of the problems that come with burnout, because burnout is it's another term really for chronic stress too, but due to certain things. So with burnout, we have a lot of consequences, a lot of things that happen to us, symptoms, right? So, some of us wake up puffy, tired, depressed, not having motivation for things that used to be fun, not getting good rest because of anxiety, right? Aches and pains, feeling isolated, low motivation. These are all symptoms of burnout. Some of us might be hooked on media, like social media, doom scrolling, especially at night, sugar, stimulants to get you through the day, and stuff that would be good for you and that would nourish you, like stuff like going out in nature, hanging out with friends. That has maybe even become too overwhelming, right? The stuff that used to fulfill you has become overwhelming. And for some of you, you may have fallen into this trap of craving what I would call cheap freedom. So what do I mean by that? The freedom or what we would call like revenge bedtime procrastination, where it's like the only freedom we get because we're so busy during the day and we're so overwhelmed with stuff is like that time at night where we're procrastinating sleep and like binging Netflix or, being on our phone because like we just didn't make time for ourselves during the day. So the thing is that with a lot of these coping mechanisms and with a lot of these symptoms, the more we just try to push through our burnout, the more we let that fatigue and stress take over, and the more we end up feeling disconnected from our community and feeling dissatisfied with life. So, as a holistic health practitioner, having practiced Ayurveda for several years, I've seen where this leads down the road to even more serious consequences where we wouldn't really put the two and two together, but seeing things like chronic health issues like IBS, inflammation, chronic pain, headaches, autoimmune symptoms, even there's that too. And I've seen a lot of that. So some of you may even be there. You might be edging towards that. And so we want to really reverse that pattern. So I am here to give us a deeper understanding of chronic burnout today, and from a holistic perspective. The solution that I present, you guys, some of you might be familiar with it, and it's actually super accessible. But this presentation might not be for you. So I just want to also presence you to like what I'm getting to here. So I'm here so that you empower yourself out of burnout, which means that I'm going to take you from being a victim to being empowered, taking responsibility for your own health and your own life. If you know that the pharmaceuticals, the alcohol, the sugar, the social media scrolling, they're not the answer to your problems, and you really want to get to the bottom of your suffering and uproot it, then you're in the right place. And if you're interested in seeing what's beyond that burnout, right? What are your bigger goals in life? Like, what do you want to accomplish? What is the life of your dreams that you gave up maybe because you've been burnt out for so long? If you want to get to the bottom of that, you're in the right place. So the thing is, this is not a quick fix. And I'm here to give you a practice. So it is called One Simple Practice. So you are going to have to commit to the practice, and you have to change your habits. So it is a lifestyle-based medicine we're talking about here, but it is really simple. So if that sounds good, then you are in the right place. So we're going to do a deep dive into the causes of burnout and what burnout is. And not just like this, the surface level stuff like being too busy at work or having to work long hours to make ends meet. Like we know that everyone's going through that, but just on the deeper level, why do some people seem to accelerate and not have that problem at all? Why do some people seem to be able to get raises faster, right? And get out of that rat race? So these are psychological causes, psychospiritual causes, and only then will the tools that I present to you make some sense. Chronic burnout doesn't just lead to health problems because it's not just being too busy that's the problem. We don't realize that underneath the issue of burnout is that we don't have our lives structured in a way that our basic needs are met. So, and this affects all aspects of life, right? So think about your own life, and perhaps you can relate. One thing that might be happening is that you're stuck in the rat race and you are trading your money for time. Some of you might be getting paid less than you're worth. And even worse, some of you might be getting paid less than you need. Some of you might be stuck in relationships that suck your energy rather than lift you up, right? So these might be work relationships, and oftentimes they are, right? Relationship with your boss, with your coworkers. And for some of you, it might be friendships or romantic relationships that just can't seem to, that just don't vibe or just like keep sucking your energy. And then for some of you, you might be feeling like you just cannot reach your full potential. And you feel like you'll always be stuck wondering what you could have done with your life to have made it better. So I like some interaction. So there are some emojis here. If you are still with me, I would love to see a thumbs up or a yes in the chat. Let me know if this is resonating. Cool. Okay. All right. So now that I'm done being negative, let's dive into this together and let's try to get to the bottom of the burnout problem. All right. Okay. So let's define burnout. Burnout is a state of emotional, mental, and often physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress. All right. So it is the aftermath of stress over a long period of time, which means that anything that's caused by chronic stress is also, what is also the symptom of burnout. They're kind of along the same path. So it's most often described in the context of the workplace, but it doesn't have to be limited to that because many of us have responsibilities outside of work and how we make money that demands our time, right? Some of us might be caregivers. Some of us might have elderly parents. Some of us have other things that demand our energy. And it has a lot to do with how you choose to put your energy out into the world. And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. So, because burnout is brought on by prolonged stress, you know, all of the long-term effects of chronic stress apply here. So, I've mentioned a lot of them already, like extreme fatigue, gastrointestinal issues, poor immune function, chronic inflammation, sleep issues. All right. So it spans all of that. So because I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner, I am going to pull in some of my knowledge here from a holistic perspective. I really want us to get a deeper understanding of what's going on in our lives and why we might be not only experiencing burnout, but experiencing it over and over again. Okay. So Ayurveda is a system of medicine that emerged over 5,000 years ago in India. It's been around for a long time, and it has its roots in ancient Vedic philosophy. So Ayurveda looks at health and the human body from a much wider lens that goes beyond physical and even mental health to spiritual health. And we're at an interesting point in our history where many of the diseases that people are dying from are actually lifestyle based. Type 2 diabetes, obesity, a lot of the autoimmune conditions, they're chronic inflammatory conditions that are due to poor living practices. And the thing is here, like, it's not our fault. It's not our fault. However, we do still, just because it's not our fault doesn't mean that we can't be responsible for it. And so what Ayurveda teaches us is that, what we can do to treat ourselves is largely diet and lifestyle based. And it views the human body as an extension of nature itself. So the more in harmony we are with nature, the healthier we're going to be. And I can't go into all the details of Ayurveda today, but it's important to understand that there are some basic principles. And one of the basic things to understand is that there are 5 elements. And these 5 elements describe energetic flow in the universe. So according to the diagram, we have space, right? Space element is going to be what holds everything in place in the universe, but it doesn't have any substance itself. It's very subtle, very light. Wind element is going to be the energy of movement. It governs all movement in the universe. In the body, that means it governs any kind of thing that requires motion. Fire element is going to govern transformation, light, and heat. So in the body, obviously we have our body heat, but our metabolism, our eyesight, and our digestion. Water element governs cohesion, flow. because when the molecules condense from gas, which is all over the place, moving, 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 it condenses into liquid. It all of a sudden it's cohesive, it sticks together. Then earth element is when it condenses even more, it becomes solid. So earth element represents solidity and stability in the universe. So thinking about space element, air element, water, earth, fire, when you hear the word burnout, what element do you think is the main culprit at play?
The fire.
Fire, ding, 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 right? So fire is what's going to spark burnout first. However, what we're going to realize is that when it comes to chronic burnout, it's actually all elements have gone out of balance. And I'll explain that a little bit more. Why is fire the element to cause burnout? Because usually with fire, there's drive to it, right? There's an aggressiveness to fire that isn't present in other elements. So a lot of us with fire in our system, in our personalities, we tend to work really hard. We tend to be perfectionist. We tend to burn the candle at both ends and work even outside of the hours that we should be working while not giving ourselves rest. And our society really rewards that. They want you to work harder for less, right? And so we do get caught up in this fire. When fire burns out, when the candle burns out and all of the fuel is gone, what happens? Then we're completely depleted, right? And so we dry out, we burn out, and that's what happens. So let's bring another layer of understanding to this. You might have heard me talk about the doshas before, or you might have heard it from someone else in Ayurveda, but with the elements in the human body, they condense into these forces called doshas. So doshas are physiological forces that govern certain functions in the body. And according to the elements that the doshas belong to, those determine the functions. So in the diagram, you can see Vata has space element and air element combined. What does that create? It creates a very drying, mobile energy. Vata governs motion in the body, any type of thing that requires motion. So including our heartbeat, including our circulation, including the thoughts that we think. Anything that requires motion is going to be involved with Vata. Vata governs it. Pitta is composed of fire and a little bit of water. So Pitta essentially is the fire dosha. It governs metabolism, it governs eyesight, it governs our forward thinking, our drive, our logic. And then Kapha is earth and water element. Kapha is very heavy. It's very moist because what do you get when you have earth and water? You get mud. So there's a bit of a heaviness to kapha that keeps us stable. But it also helps us build bulk in our bodies, right? So with that understanding, each of the doshas have a function within us, and each of us have all three doshas. However, you'll probably identify with one of the doshas more than the other two, or maybe two out of the three. And so you will have a tendency throughout your life to identify with that dosha, which means that's probably your natural state of being. Now, what's important to understand with doshas is that they get imbalanced. And when they get imbalanced, they cause problems in our body and our mind, and therefore our behavior. So doshas give us an idea of what patterns show up in our bodies and minds according to which dosha is dominant within us. And so when a dosha is out of balance, our behavior also changes, right? So now look at the pictures at the bottom. When Vata becomes out of balance, that airiness, that tendency to think a lot, to be distracted, causes worry. It causes anxiousness. It causes people to constantly question themselves, causes fear and frantic action and distraction, which can lead to a lot of energy wasted and fatigue. And you can already see, like, how does that fit into burnout, right? When you're constantly wasting your energy and worrying about things. Pitta, fire, when they get out of balance, they tend to drive themselves too hard, take on work aggressively, won't stop until they finish something, have perfectionist tendencies, will sacrifice sleep for work, right? And you can see already where that lends itself to burnout. Kapha is really interesting. Kapha by nature tends to be heavy and slow, right? They tend to be no stress for the most part. And they'd rather choose not to think about a problem unless they absolutely have to. And they'd rather procrastinate or just let someone else handle the problem because they have that, again, they're chill. However, because of that water element, they also have a tendency to be very attached to people. So there is a pattern in Kapha that's really interesting in that they'll go out of their way to do something in order to be liked or needed, especially when they're out of balance, right? They'll be extra helpful, extra available. And you can see if they're always focused on fulfilling others' needs because they feel like they need to be liked, you could see how that's also externalized energy that can cause burnout. So the thing with chronic burnout is that in all likelihood, you probably identified with all of those. And it's in a vicious cycle. So your vata imbalance is causing you to be constantly anxious and questioning yourself, right? Your pitta out of balance is constantly trying to achieve perfection and just work until, you burn out. Kapha is causing you to try to gain someone else's approval because you just don't feel empowered enough to see that, that you are worth your energy.
When you mention imbalance, do you mean like you have extra of one of the elements or you are lacking of one of the elements?
Good question. It means that you're excess. Because actually, when it comes to the doshas, we always look at the excess as an imbalance. If there's a deficiency, it just means that there's an excess in another dosha.
Okay, so when you burn out, you're basically access for three elements.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially for chronic burnout.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. The mind is a very tricky thing because it's the one thing that can basically overpower digestion. And Ayurveda is all about digestion. It's all about digestive health. But the thing is, like, gut health is actually a nervous system issue too. So when you have too much of all of three, it will knock everything out of balance.
So you mentioned this is like the root cause gonna be gut health. Is that correct?
So the root cause is both gut health and nervous system.
That if you fix a gut issue, you can potentially fix the mental issue, right?
It's a little more
That's
complicated than that.
okay.
And the reason is that, like I said, the mind can overtake the gut.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but I agree with that.
Yeah. There is one more element I want to talk about here before we move on to the next thing, and is that there's a concept in Ayurveda called ojas. And ojas is kind of like your vital essence. You're born with a certain amount of it, but you also are able to replenish it. And it's this resilience, your inner resilience, your inner strength, and it's your potential to thrive. And the more your doshas are out of balance and the more your doshas are out of balance over time, the lower your ojas gets. So you have a reserve, basically. And the more fragile you become because ojas gets depleted, the more fragile you become mentally and physically. So chronic burnout happens when our bodies have difficulty restoring ojas because it's depleting faster than we can restore it. So think of it as like your ability to cope with stress. The more that these doshas are circulating and the more we are kind of driving from that imbalance, the harder it is to recover from burnout, which is why a lot of us, when we do experience chronic burnout, it's like we go on vacation and we feel great. And then all of a sudden we come back to work and it's the same thing over and over again. And we get burnt out even faster after that. Okay. So before we go to the one simple practice, there's just one more part and a very important part to this burnout puzzle, and that's called mindset. So mindset really matters because mindset is anchored in our beliefs about ourselves and about the world around us. And for most of us, we don't even think about it. We don't even think it's possible to change our beliefs. But our mindset determines our behavior because we operate from those beliefs. So those of us with burnout carry limiting beliefs that deplete our energy and resilience and deplete our ojas. So I'm going to give you a couple examples that might resonate with you. All right. So some of us are rooted in the belief that I am not enough, I'm not worthy, and my needs come last. And that creates low self-esteem. Some of us are rooted in the belief that I need to cater to others in order to survive or succeed in life. And that I believe that saying no is bad because if I say no, I won't have any other chances. Right? And that creates boundary issues too, because you just can't say no to anything. Some of us are rooted in the belief that I need to be liked in order to survive. And that causes people-pleasing tendencies, which also externalizes our energy and depletes it. In all three examples that I gave, you become the last priority in your world, and you believe that you're unworthy unless you do something. You believe that your worth is inherently connected to what you do and not who you are. So it's hard to change beliefs. But unless we're able to challenge these beliefs and debunk them for ourselves, it has to be an internal process, we'll be stuck in the cycle of burnout. So in my eyes, there are two things that need to happen in order to reverse chronic burnout. And after being an Ayurvedic practitioner for a while, I realized that the first thing I need to do a lot of the time with people has nothing to do with food. The first thing that we need to do, and that's pretty incredible for someone who does Ayurveda. The first thing that we need to do is that we need to restore function to our nervous systems so that we can reach a place of clarity. That's one. The second thing that we need to do is that we need to reset our inner wisdom, our beliefs, right? We need to reset ourselves so that we can change our beliefs. It's a tall order. So when I came up with this presentation, I had to ask myself, like, how do we do that? How do we restore function to our nervous system, which is shot from being burnt out? And how do we reset our inner wisdom so that we can change our beliefs? All right. So some of you are already familiar with this tool called Yoga Nidra. And I stand very firmly in believing that this practice does both of what I just said. So what is Yoga Nidra? Because some of us think yoga and we automatically think asana, oh, doing poses and stretches. It has nothing to do with that. So Yoga Nidra is a state of deep relaxation in which we can access an expanded level of awareness and a state of higher consciousness. And these days, people think of Yoga Nidra as a way to help them get to sleep. And yeah, that's like a nice side benefit, but that's not really the point of Yoga Nidra. And it's funny because Nidra actually does mean sleep, but when you tack on yoga before it, it becomes yogic sleep. And that was just a word to describe a separate state of consciousness that allows the body to fall asleep while the mind stays awake and alert. So if you've ever been in a hypnotic state, if you've ever gone into deep relaxation, yoga nidra is like the intentional act of that. So a daily practice of yoga nidra restores and regulates the nervous system and resets our inner wisdom. And why? Why does it work? We're going to do a little bit of a mini practice after this, but yoga nidra allows us stillness. It allows us to stay aware without the physiological reactions of the body. A lot of our stress reactions come from our body. When we are thinking about something that stresses us out, our body reacts. We put up our guard. We do fight or flight. Our adrenals kick in when we don't even realize it. And a lot of us are there just all the time. Yoga Nidra is special because it's not just non-sleep deep rest, which is kind of like the scientific community's version of Yoga Nidra. But what's special about Yoga Nidra is that it asks us to visualize. It asks us to create new possibilities within the state of consciousness. And in this state of consciousness, you're directing yourself. And so you're creating new possibilities for being. Hence, it gives you chances to rewire your brain. It creates neuroplasticity. And in that state, you can rewire your beliefs. And as a side thing, it also requires you to make time for yourself. For a lot of us with burnout, we're in the habit of not. So let's take a deep breath. And we're going to do a mini practice. We'll do it for like 15 minutes. Won't be too long. And what I want you to do is find a very comfortable position. So for most of us, we're in a chair. But if you can lie down, you can lie down. Doesn't matter. And what I want you to do is just get real comfortable, real relaxed, and gently close your eyes. All right. Take 3 deep breaths. And with each exhale, I want you to let go of all of the tension and all of the stress you've been carrying throughout the day. Let go of anything that bothered you. Let go of anything that people said to you. All right. So we're going to start by bringing our attention to our forehead. And I want you to place that attention right in the middle of your forehead, between your eyes, still with your eyes closed. A lot of us keep tension within our brows. So now notice any areas of holding control or tension in your eyebrows. And let go of that tension. Letting go, and letting go. Notice if that tension spreads. Notice if it goes towards your eye sockets. Notice if it goes towards your eyelids. Anytime you notice tension, let it go. Every single exhale that happens, let go of it even more, so that we get deeper and deeper into a state of relaxed awareness. Now, from the brow, slide your awareness down your face to your lips. Bring your attention first to your top lip, and then bring your attention to your bottom lip. and allow all expression to be removed from your face. Let go of any holding, control, or tension in your lips. And get deeper into your state of relaxed awareness. Letting go, letting go, letting go. And from your lips, bring your attention to your jaw. Notice the muscles in and around your jaw and feel for any areas of holding, control, or tension. And let it go. Deeper and deeper into awareness, and deeper into surrender. Once your jaw is relaxed, you might notice that your jaw has slightly separated your lips, and that's okay. Letting go, letting go, letting go. Now, from your jaw, bring your awareness all the way to the back of your neck. There's lots of little muscles in your neck that attach to your shoulders and keep tension there all day. Notice all those areas of holding, control, and tension in your neck, and let it go. Deeper and deeper into relaxation, and deeper into surrender. Letting go. Now, from your neck, let's trickle that awareness down over the tops of your shoulders to your upper back, those traps. Your shoulders hold a lot of tension. When we feel the weight of the world on our shoulders, that's where we feel tightness. Now, notice all of that tightness, and with each breath, let go of any holding, control, or tension in your shoulders. And allow yourself to melt deeper into the earth here. Letting go, letting go, letting go. Deeper and deeper into relaxation, and deeper into awareness. Deeper and deeper into freedom. Letting go. And now from your shoulders, let us bring our awareness slowly down the arms, starting from the top of our shoulders to our biceps, our triceps. And let go of any holding, control, or tension in our arms. Then from there, slide your awareness around your elbows, around those joints, to the forearms. And from the forearms to your wrists, from your wrists to your palms, to your fingers. Let go of any holding, control, or tension in all of your arms, and let them feel so heavy, so relaxed that you couldn't pick them up if you tried. Letting go, letting go, letting go. Deeper and deeper into relaxation. deeper and deeper into awareness. Now, bring your awareness from the arms and draw it back to the center of your chest, becoming aware of your heart. See if you can feel your own heartbeat. And let go of any holding, control, or tension in your physical heart. Letting go, letting go, letting go. With each breath, breathing becomes easier and easier. That tension melts away. Now go one layer deeper and bring awareness to your emotional heart. See some bright light surrounding your heart, bringing healing to your deepest emotions. Letting go, letting go, letting go. Deeper and deeper into awareness, and deeper into relaxation. Letting go. And now, in this deep state of relaxed awareness, let us bring ourselves present to a visualization. I want you to see a screen in front of you. And within that screen, you're playing a movie. Imagine yourself living your best life. Imagine yourself living life without limitation, doing whatever it is that you are inspired by. See yourself living life without limitations, with your body, mind, and emotions fully healed, fully empowered. Where are you? Who are you with? How do you feel? Letting go, letting go, letting go. All the while still remaining awake and aware, awake and aware. Allow this visualization to be real. See yourself where you are. Imagine the tastes, the touch, the smells. Now, I want you to take this visualization and allow yourself to let it go. See it floating off into the distance. And know that it is being taken by the divine to manifest in its own time. Simply bask in the stillness of Yoga Nidra and allow yourself to feel the unlimited peace and potential that you are. Letting go, letting go, letting go. And now, as I count down from 5 to 0, we will slowly make our way back to present time and present space. 5, remembering that you can access the state of peace at any time. 4, know that your body and mind will continue to heal even after this practice is complete. 4, knowing that this unlimited potential is accessible to you whenever you want it. 2, slowly start to move around in your chair. And 1, gently open your eyes. And welcome back. So I want you to get present to the state that you are in. And if you had challenges, that's okay too. So as we're getting back to present time and space, I'll tell you my story with Yoga Nidra. I was in a really bad place a few years ago. And the thing was I was trying so hard. I was going to like leadership commitments. I was doing lots of self-help stuff. I was doing whatever I could because I really thought there was something wrong with me. And my relationships were falling apart. And I signed up for a Yoga Nidra teacher training. And part of the training was that we had to go through multiple rounds of Yoga Nidra, 45 minutes a session each day consecutively. And I did not foresee what I was going to get from this. But when I kept doing it, that need, that belief that I'm not enough melted away. And all of a sudden, I was very present to something people had been trying to teach me for years. And that was that I'm perfect, whole, and complete. And that I'm worth it. And it took me actually a long time to internalize this lesson. But I was present to this peace that I hadn't felt ever before. And when I had that insight, it never went away. But I had to remind myself of it again and again and again. Because our minds will always tell us sometimes it's just, we're not worth it. We got to keep pushing harder. There's something wrong and we got to fix it. But the more that you practice this, the more we get centered and the more we actually believe that we are perfect as we are. So this practice is very powerful. And for those of us who are in a place where we do feel really stressed out and we are in that state of chronic burnout where it's really hard to pull ourselves through, we need a therapeutic dose. And so I would recommend doing this for 45 minutes daily for at least 1 week. The lovely part about this is that it is free. You don't need a teacher to do it. You just need to be able to access the state of this consciousness. But luckily, there are recordings, and so many of them, that are out there in the world. And I do have recordings myself on Insight Timer that you can access at any time. For those of us who are already pretty well balanced, doing a weekly practice can really help for maintenance. So with that, I would love to hear a little bit about, and you don't have to say it out loud, but what are you present to now? What insights have you had? Or aha moments during the presentation?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much. Um, I don't know if I had an aha moment, more like I feel like I had a lot of like really curious moments.
Mhm.
I found uh what you shared about Ayurveda like really interesting.
Mhm.
About like how that intersects with burnout because I feel like I've thought about this a lot, obviously, because I struggle with a lot of the things that you had named.
Mhm.
But I hadn't considered it from that angle. Um, and so given that lens, like it really does make sense, like why yoga nidra would be really therapeutic. And so I'm really interested to learn
Yeah.
more. But yeah, just like I feel pretty curious. Like it's just such a, like everything that you shared. I mean, it really landed because it is something that you start to feel it like in all these different parts of your body. And it feels pretty like urgent, to
Yeah.
start addressing these things before they become like really systemic problems. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Um, of course. And I know you're in a helping profession, right? And it can get out of hand really quickly. And so it's just like always be present to these tools. They're here when you need them. And because I see a lot like of people who burn out, and I've been one of them. So like we kind of forget that we're also living in a human body and we also need to be taken care of. So giving ourself the time to slow down, so important. And we've been conditioned to believe that it's a luxury, but it's actually essential. And the thing is like, there's a lot of toxic work culture out there too. People will tell you that you gotta push through, like this is just like your rite of passage, right? But you know, see where they're at in like 20 years too. Right. So, just some of the things I want to make clear is like a lot of the stuff that we do just doesn't work. And it's because that pitta, that initial drive, that was when it was first started, when we were feeling good and we felt like we could just push through. When we were in our early 20s, right? We could do anything. We could stay up until 3 a.m. and it's fine because we had that energy. We had that ojas, and we just didn't realize that we had a limited amount of it. And so a lot of these coping mechanisms, essentially like working harder for less, and trying to prove ourselves and pushing through it, don't work anymore. And then the coping mechanisms, the emotional eating, the revenge bedtime procrastination, all of that. Even taking the spa days, like it can bring temporary relief, but not necessarily long-term solution. All right. So I do want to talk a little bit about what I do in Club Phoenix, and this is my whole thing, is that we need to give ourselves the time to consider what it is that we want to create in our lives. And the yoga nidra and the Ayurveda is a part of this journey. But I'm really passionate about having people reach and attain the lives that they truly were meant to live, that the life that they truly want to live, and not the one that society told them to live. I think it's our birthright to pursue what we would call dharma or ikigai, our individual, unique purpose for being on this earth. And so that's why I want to get to the root of suffering. That's why I want to get to the root cause of burnout, is because that is what gives us access to everything else. And what's behind that is learning that we are worth it. It's learning that we have a right to thrive. And then from there, once we have attained a healthy body, once we have gotten our ojas back, our resilience back, then we can finally think about what mark we want to leave on this earth, because we finally have the energy for it. And so in Club Phoenix, we do all of that, and we work on ourselves for a year to get us back to that place of balance, to get us back to the place of happiness, joy, and thrive. So I do have Vanessa here if you want to pop on and say hi. She's part of Club Phoenix as well. And, we work together to uncover some of those blockages. We work together to get present to our real goals. And if this is something that's interesting to you, if this is something you might want to explore, I invite you today to talk with me to see what it is that we can create together. All right. So finally, I want to invite you to book a call with me. If this is something you are starting to be interested in, if you're just curious, wherever you're at, feel free to sign up for a conversation and get started. If this is something that is interesting, definitely, I would love to explore it with you. Thank you so much for joining in for Conquering Chronic Burnout. I hope you got something from this presentation. Again, if you would like to have a chat with me about how Club Phoenix can make a difference in your life, feel free to click on the link below to grab a discovery call. Hope you're all feeling great today, and see you next time.